Hey y'all, in case you didn't know, I have lived in the UK for the last 7 years. So, in this series, I'm going to discuss how I was able to relocate from the US to the UK. So, stay tuned for all parts of the series. But in this first part of the series, I'm going to discuss how I was able to land a job in the UK while residing in America. Stay tuned. So I previously did a video called Why I Moved from the US to the UK, where I go into detail about my professional background, the universities I've attended, and all of that. So you can go back and check that video out for more detail. But in terms of what I do for work, I am a mental health practitioner. So, in terms of my education, I have a bachelor's in social work and a master's in clinical social work, which essentially is mental health social work. So, in my job, I work with people that struggle with mental health disorders, behavioral disorders, emotional dysregulation, things of that nature. So, the type of work that I do falls under the Tier 2 skilled worker visa scheme. You may also have heard it referred to as the job shortage scheme. Essentially, what it means is that there are myriad. You can go to the UK government's website. There is literally a myriad of professions that there is a shortage of throughout the UK. My profession is one of them. So, in order to fill that gap, overseas workers are recruited to come and work in the UK if their job falls within this scheme. That's how I was able to move here. So when I worked back home, there is basically an oversight board that makes sure that you are practicing under the professional standards, that you are doing your continuing education courses to make sure that you are up to date in any changes within the profession. There is the same thing here in the UK for social workers. So when I moved here, social workers were under HCPC. That is the Health Care Professionals Council. Also nurses, psychotherapists, psychologists, those sorts of professions were also under HCPC. Now social work is regulated by Social Work England. I can't speak to the other parts of the UK because I've only resided in England. So I don't know how it works in Wales. I don't know how it works in Northern Ireland. If you are in those countries or seeking to relocate to those countries, you're going to have to check out those governments' websites. So step one is I had to make sure that I was professionally recognized by the professional governing body. So at the time, that was HCPC, currently is Social Work England. So I literally just went onto their website and reviewed what I would need to do as an international applicant in order to have my credentials in the US recognized in the UK. So in the US, I did my graduate work in Texas, and I was a licensed master level social worker, so LMSW, and the governing body was called the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners. So I essentially had my information from the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners that recognized me as a master level social worker, meaning I passed the state board exams, that I provided them proof that I graduated from an accredited university. I gave that information as part of my application to HCPC. So in the US, no shade, you'll hear people say that they're social workers when they have not passed their state board exam for whatever reason. Either they tried and they did not pass, or they did not want to take the exams. They kind of just generically call themselves a social worker. In the UK, it does not work like that. You cannot call yourself a social worker and or work in the field of social work if you are not recognized by their governing body. Again, when I moved here in 2017, I applied in 2016. That was HCPC, is now Social Work England. So that is part of what my application process included. The information from the state board saying that yes, she passed her exam, yes, she has this master's level of education, and she is in good standing. Aside from that, I also went to my graduate university and provided and requested a sealed copy of my full transcripts. I also got a letter from the registrar's office that was signed and dated that said I graduated on this date, that I passed all of my courses, and just recognizing that I did indeed matriculate throughout the program and that I graduated. So transcripts and a letter from the registrar with my commencement date. On top of all of that, I included with my application to HCPC every single syllabus. I'll say that again. Every single syllabus from the graduate course that I attended. And then I also included a sealed copy of my official transcript, along with 3 professional references, including one from my, employer at the time. So I gathered all of those documents and the fee. I don't know what the fee is now, but at the time, the fee for HCPC in dollars, I don't know about any other currency, in US dollars, it was $800. So all of those documents that I mentioned, those letters of recommendation and the fee, I mailed all of that from Texas to the United Kingdom in order to have myself recognized as someone that meets the professional standards as a social worker. So once I did that, I got back a letter saying, congratulations, this is your HCPC card. I had a ID number. And if you go to the website and typed in my name was on there as a licensed and a social worker, and I was now ready and available to practice in it. Now, you may be saying to yourself, like, damn, that is a lot of steps. What I found out, like, the longer that I've lived here and, I've made friendships at work and things like that, you hear stories from people all over the world who have come to the UK under this tier 2 job shortage scheme, faking, frauding, and fronting, saying that they have credentials that they don't have, saying that they graduated from universities that they've never attended, or maybe they attended but never matriculated completely to the point of graduation. And so the governing bodies now have a hard line stance where you have to give them basically every single document as proof that you are in good standing within your profession at your home country, that you have matriculated and passed your courses, whether it's at a bachelor's level or a master's level or doctoral level, because people have been hired as nurses, doctors, social workers, any profession you can think of, and they did not have those qualifications, which obviously puts the organization, the wider organization, at risk, and it puts the people that are supposedly under your care, within your care, at risk as well. So while it may seem like strenuous and excessive, there is a reason for that. And as always, it's one apple spoiling the bunch. So now everybody has to go through all of these hoops in order to be recognized by their professional governing body. It's unfortunate, but if you just look it up, I'll put some in the description box of incidents of people faking and frauding like they're doctors or dentists or whatever, and they're not. So in order to combat that, the course correction is very strict, and you really have to just over present the fact that you have the qualifications, which I did. And thankfully, I didn't have any problems. I was able to successfully get on to the registration for HCPC, which again is the first step, is to be recognized by the organization based on your professional field in order to work in the UK. So that was step 1. So step 2 is actually finding a job. So you're on the registry board, You're recognized. Your name is, you can go to the website, type your name in, your name pops up with your professional ID. It says whether or not you have any citations under your license or on your license, and if you are able to practice in good standings. Once you do that, now you need a job. And this is no cap. What I did is, as soon as I got notification that I was on HCPC's registration board, on their board, that you could type my name in, I went to LinkedIn and I put in my bio something along the lines of American LMSW with HCPC credentials or something like that. So saying that, hey, I'm an overseas worker, but I have the credentials to be recognized in my field in the UK, and I'm looking for work. Within 10 minutes, probably less than 10 minutes of me changing my bio on LinkedIn, I have recruiters and headhunters calling me. Like, hey, hi, I'm calling from so-and-so recruiting agency. I saw your information on LinkedIn. I just wanted to take a few minutes to speak to you to see if I can, line up some interviews for you. 10 minutes, within 10 minutes. So that is the start of how I was able to get into the doors of even trying to get a job. Is I went on LinkedIn, changed my bio, and headhunters found me. I made my profile obviously open and viewable, and within 10 minutes, I have recruiters calling me. Now, again, this is no shade. There are some recruiters, I would even venture to say that the majority of recruiters in the UK and England specifically, where I've lived and worked for the last 7 years, do not know a damn thing about the Tier 2 visa process, about recruiting overseas workers, and they are going to tell you misinformation because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. There are other staffing agencies, recruiting agencies that specialize in having only recruiting overseas workers. So they have a specialization with working with those type of workers. So what I did is I signed up with one particular recruiting agency, and I had a recruiter who would contact me a few times a week, and we would discuss what jobs that they had available and were looking for. The issue that I ran into with the recruiting agency that I was working with is I only wanted to work in London, and a lot of the vacancies that they had was all over England. Cornwall and Devon and places that I did not want to live. I'm sure that those are fabulous places. I personally have never visited those places. I would like to, but I was only looking for jobs in London. And so that kind of did not work. And the type of person that I am a go-getter. If things do not, work out one way, we're going to try a different way. We're going to keep trying till we get to the destination that we're trying to reach. And so working with that specific recruiting agency was not successful for me. But what it did help with is that I then had information about the questions that I would be asked in the interview. So the recruiting agency set me up with 2 interviews. One interview was with a local authority in London, and one interview was with a local authority that was in another part of the country, that was nowhere near London. And I was offered the job, unfortunately, with a local authority that was not in London or not even near London. So I declined it. And I think that kind of rubbed the recruiter the wrong way, to be honest. And so what I did not sit back and just wait for them to line up jobs for me. I picked up the phone and I was calling local authorities in and around London. And I would ask them, hi, I'm an American licensed social worker. I'm licensed with HCPC. I'm looking to find work in the UK. Can you let me know if your organization is currently offering sponsorships for overseas workers? And if they were, I would ask for the email address of the recruiter, the recruiting agency, the staff person that was in charge of lining up interviews, the person from human resources, and I would contact them directly and say, this is my information on HCPC, this is my professional ID number, I'm available to interview at this date and time. Because of the time difference, this day may work better than that day. So I was reaching out to organizations, and that is how I was able to get a job in the UK. It wasn't through the headhunters or the recruiting agency. It was by me picking up the phone, speaking with human resources, asking if they were hiring people that required sponsorship, and then sending my details through email. So the kind of responses I would get when I would ask them, they would say, hey, our organization, we do sponsor overseas workers, but we only have within our budget to hire X amount per quarter, and we have already reached our quota. Some other organizations said, we are staffed at full capacity and we do not need any additional workers. So the way that the Tier 2 job shortage scheme works is it only works if the organization has vacancies that they are not able to fill with UK workers, and they now need to recruit people from overseas to fill that vacancy. So the first job that I had in the UK was not in London. It was in Essex, which is a county that borders London. So what I did, I just was looking up places in and around London. I called that specific local authority. They said, well, you know what? We do. We hire overseas workers all the time. This is the recruiter that you need to speak with. These are her details. So I emailed her my CV, my information from HCPC, and I had an interview over Skype. Because I had already interviewed twice with the local authorities that the recruiter set me up with, I already knew what to expect. I had already went through the interview process. I already knew the kind of questions that I was going to be asked. And so I was prepared and I nailed it. Your girl nailed it. And so I was offered the job within like 10 minutes. So I had the Skype interview. It was a panel interview. So it was 3 people from the organization on a panel, and it was me answering questions from each person. And I got a call back like within 20 minutes, probably less than 20 minutes, offering me the job. One of the things that I do like about the UK interview process compared to the American process is they give you feedback pretty much the same day, if not within one working day. They'll tell you what they liked about your interview, how you scored. They have a scoring system, generally speaking, and where you can improve. From my experience, I've worked throughout the US. They don't do that. They generally don't say, hey, we didn't really think that you sold yourself on, having a specialization or whatever. They just be like, we not hiring you. Thanks for applying. But in the UK, what I have found is that generally speaking, you get feedback as to why you were not hired. So I got hired by this specific local authority. And that started my journey with working as a skilled worker here in the UK. So in part 2 of this series, I'm going to discuss the visa application process, which is a lot. It is a headache, but I'm going to walk you through what I did. So the first thing that you need before you apply for a visa is a job offer. So we'll further discuss that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And stay tuned for part 2. Peace.